Strides.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam McCarthy, Mr. Bradman and I will have our coffee in here after dinner. Dr. Bradman and Mr. Condamine will have theirs in the study. Is that quite clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you're serving dinner, Edith, try to remember to do it calmly and methodically. As you're not in the Navy, it's unnecessary to do everything at the double.
Very good, ma'am.
Now you better go and get the ice.
Yes, ma'am.
Not at a run, Edith.
Yes, ma'am.
No sign of the advancing hordes?
Not yet.
No ice.
Well, it's coming. I've been trying to dissuade Edith from being quite so fleet of foot, so you mustn't mind if everything's in slow motion.
No. I shall welcome it. These last few days have been extremely agitating. What could have induced Agnes to go and leave us and get married?
Oh, the reason was becoming increasingly obvious, dear.
Yes, dear. But these days, nobody thinks anything of that kind of thing. She could have popped into the cottage hospital, had it, and popped out again.
Oh, her social life would have been seriously undermined.
We must keep Edith in the house more.
But that's right, Edith. Put it down on the table, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Edith, I left my cigarette case on the dressing table. Would you get it?
Yes, sir.
There now.
You took me by surprise.
Have a martini. How about you, dear?
Thank you, darling. Although I suspect Madam McCarthy will want something sweeter.
We'll have this one for ourselves anyhow.
Oh dear.
What's the matter?
Oh, I have a feeling this evening's going to be awful.
Well, it'll probably be funny, but not awful.
You must promise not to catch my eye. If you do, I'll giggle. And if I giggle, it might ruin everything.
You must promise not to giggle. You must be serious, even a little intense. We can't let the old girl think we're fooling. That might upset her.
But why the Bradmans, darling? Well, he's as sceptical as we are. He'll probably say the most dreadful things.
Well, there had to be at least 3, and we couldn't invite the vicar and his wife because A, they're dreary, and B, they probably wouldn't have approved at all. It had to be the Bradmans. Thank you, Edith.
Yes, ma'am.
Here, try this.
Thank you, darling. Lovely. Dry as a bone.
To the unseen.
I must say, that's a wonderful title.
Yes, if this evening goes well, I'll start on my first draft in the morning. Remember how I got the idea for The Light Goes Out?
Of course, darling. Suddenly see that haggard, raddled woman at the hotel at Barrett's.
Yes, she came in very handy. I wonder who she was.
And if she knew or ever recognised that description of herself, poor thing. Anyhow, here's to her.
Cheers. Have another?
Oh, darling, it's most awfully strong.
Never mind. Where are you?
Used Elvira be a help to you when you were thinking something out, I mean?
Sometimes. When she concentrated, which wasn't very often.
I do wish I'd known her.
I wonder if you'd have liked her.
Oh, I'm sure I should. As you talk of her, she sounds enchanting. And you know, I haven't for a moment felt the least jealous of her. Well, that's a good sign.
Poor Elvira.
Does it still hurt when you think of her?
No, not really. But I feel it should. I feel rather guilty.
Well, I wonder if I died, how soon you'd forget me.
Oh, what a horrible thing to say.
No, I think it's interesting.
Well, first of all, I haven't forgotten Elvira at all. I still remember her distinctly. I remember how fascinating she was, and how maddening, how poorly she played all games, and how cross she got when she didn't win. I remember her gay charm when she got her own way over something, and her extreme acidity when she did not. I remember her physical attractiveness, which was tremendous, and her spiritual integrity, which was nil.
Well, you can't remember something that was nil.
I remember she was morally untidy.
Was she more physically attractive than I am?
Darling, it's an extremely tedious question, thoroughly deserves the wrong answer.
You really are very sweet.
Thank you.
And a little naive, too.
Why?
Well, because you think I should mind about Elvira being more physically attractive than I am.
Oh, I should think that any woman would mind if it were true. Or perhaps I'm a little old-fashioned in my view of female psychology.
Not exactly old-fashioned, darling, just a bit didactic.
How do you mean? In what way?
Well, it's didactic to attribute to one type the defects of another type. For example, because you know Elvira would have minded terribly if she knew you found another person more physically attractive than she was. Doesn't necessarily follow that I should. Elvira was a more physical person than I am, I'm certain of it. It's all a matter of degree.
I love you, my love.
I know you do. But not the wildest stretch of imagination could class it as first fine careless rapture.
Well, would you like it to be?
Good God, no.
Wasn't that a bit too vehement?
Oh, we neither of us adolescents, Charles, and neither of us led exactly prim lives. Careless rapture at this stage would both be incongruous and embarrassing.
Well, I do hope I haven't been a disappointment in any way, dear.
Don't be silly, Charles.
Well, your first husband was a lot older than you. I'd hate to think you'd missed out all along the line.
There are moments, darling, when you go too far.
Sorry.
As far as Washbur's female psychology goes, there's rather a strong vein of it in you.
I've heard the same thing said about Julius Caesar.
Oh, Julius Caesar is neither here nor there.
Oh, he may well be. We'll ask Madame Arcati later.
You know, you're awfully irritating when you're determined to be witty at all costs.
That's exactly what Elvira used to say.
Not at all surprised. Physically triumphant as she was, I never for a moment thought that she was lacking in perception.
Darling Ruth.
There you go again.
As I said before, I love you, my love.
Poor Elvira.
Yes, it's a shame she died so young. But didn't that light comradely kiss mollify you in the slightest?
You're very annoying, you know that. When I say poor Elvira, it came from the heart. You must have bewildered her so horribly.
You mean to say I don't bewilder you at all?
Oh, not for an instant. I know every trick.
Oh, we'd better get a divorce immediately then.
Take my glasses, darling.
Yes, Elvira had such a great talent for living. It's a shame she died so young.
If I died, I wonder how long it would be before you remarried again.
Oh, you won't die. You're not the dying sort.
Well, neither was Elvira.
Oh, yes, she was. She had a very not-of-this-world ethereal nature. No one could call you even remotely ethereal.
Nonsense. She was of the earth, earthy.
Well, she is now.
You know, that's the kind of observation that shocks people.
Well, it's discouraging to think how many people are shocked by the truth and how few by deceit.
You ought to write that down, you might forget it.
You underrate me.
Anyhow, it was more a question of bad taste than honesty.
I was married to Elvira for 5 years, and she died. And I was most upset. That was 7 years ago. And now with your help, dear, I've risen above the whole thing.
Oh, admirable. And yet I say it was prophetic foreboding. Poor Ruth.
That'll be the Bradmans.
Well, it might be Madame McCarthy.
Oh no, she'll come on her bicycle. She has everyone on a bicycle.
How the spirit of the old girl.
Shall we see what happens? Shall we see if Edith goes through?
Well, wait a minute and let's see what happens.
Maybe she didn't hear.
Oh, she's probably on bended knee, waiting for the cook to open the kitchen door.
Steady, Edith.
Yes, sir. Doctor and Mrs. Bragg.
Well, later. We have just got back from the hospital half an hour ago.
Not at all, Madame Arcati isn't here yet.
Oh, that must have been her we passed coming down the hill. I said I thought it was.
Oh, then she won't be long. I'm so glad you've come.
Oh, we've been looking forward to it. I feel really quite excited.
I can guarantee that Violet will be good. I made her promise.
But there wasn't any need. I'm absolutely thrilled. I've only seen Madame Arcati 2 or 3 times in the village. I've never seen her doing anything at all peculiar, if you know what I mean.
You like a dry martini?
By all means.
Yes, it's only by a chance remark of the vicar about seeing her on the knoll on Midsummer's Night Eve, dressed in all sorts of outlandish Indian robes, made me realise she had any interest in the cult at all. Well, I started making some inquiries, and it turns out she's been a professional in London for years.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it, to think of anybody doing it as a profession?
I believe it's very lucrative.
Oh. Do you believe in it, Mrs. Condamine? Do you think there's anything really genuine about it at all?
No, I'm afraid I don't. Although I do think it's amusing how easily people allow themselves to be deceived.
Oh, but she must believe it herself, mustn't she? Or is the whole business a fake?
Well, I expect the worst. A real charlatan. At least that's what I'm hoping for. The character I'm writing for my book must be a complete imposter. It's one of the most essential parts of the
plot. So, what exactly are you hoping to get from her?
Jargon, a few tricks of the trade. I haven't attended a seance in years. I wanted to refresh my memory.
Well, then it's not totally new to you.
No. When I was a boy, my mother had a sister, my aunt. She used to come over and think herself a bit of a medium. And after dinner, she would go off in these elaborate trances. My mother was fascinated by it.
Well, was she convinced?
Oh, no. She just naturally disliked my aunt and liked making a fool of her.
Well, then there was probably no tangible results.
Well, sometimes she didn't do so badly. One time, when Mother was banging away at the piano playing Chaminade, the lights out, Aunt gave a shrill shriek and declared there was a little black dog by the side of the chair. We turned the lights on and there it was.
Well, how extraordinary.
I know, it's obviously a stray that had come in from the street, but I congratulated Aunt on producing it, or at least utilising it.
Well, what happened to it?
Oh, lived with us for years.
I certainly hope Madam McCarthy won't be producing any livestock this evening. We have so very little room in this house as it is.
Oh, do you think she tells fortunes? I love having my fortune told.
I expect so.
I was once told on the pier at South Sea that I was surrounded by lilies in a golden seven and worried me for days.
Now, we must be completely serious and not let her know we're pretending, or she won't play.
Also, it would be cruel to upset her.
Well, I'll be as good as gold.
Well, have you ever attended a doctor? Professionally, I mean.
Well, yes, she had influenza in January. She's only lived here for just over a year, you know. And I must say, she was singularly psychic then. I always understood that she was an authoress.
Yes, we used to be colleagues at Mrs. Winter's evenings in Southgate.
Oh, what sort of books does she write?
Oh, two sorts. Rather whimsical children's stories about enchanted woods filled with conversational flora and fauna, and rather enthusiastic biographies of minor royalties, entertaining, reverent, and very witty.
Oh, that'll be her now.
She knows, doesn't she, about tonight? You're not going to spring it on her.
Oh, no, it was all arranged last week. I told her how interested I was in the occult, and she blossomed like a rose.
I really feel rather nervous, as though I was to make a speech.
You going to meet her, darling?
I've left my bike up against that little bush. It will be perfectly all right as long as no one touches it.
Madam McCarthy.
Thank you so much for coming.
My dear Madame Arcati.
I'm afraid I'm rather late. I had a sudden presentiment that I would get a puncture, so I went back to fetch my pup. And then, of course, I didn't have a puncture at all.
Perhaps you were on the way home.
Dr. Bradman, the man with the gentle
I'd
hands.
like to see you looking so well. This is my wife.
Oh, we're old friends. We meet coming out of shops.
Oh, would you like a cocktail?
If it's a dry martini, yes. If it's a concoction, no. Experience has taught me to be very wary of concoctions.
It's a dry martini.
Oh, how delicious. Oh, it was wonderful cycling through the woods this evening. I was deafened with birdsong.
Yes, it's been lovely all day.
Ooh, but the evening's the time, mark my words.
Here we are.
Oh, thank you. Cheers! Cheers!
Oh, don't you find it very tiring bicycling everywhere?
On the contrary, it stimulates me. I was getting far too sedentary in London. Horrid little flat with the dim lights. Well, they have to be dim, you know. The clients expect it.
I must say, I find bicycling very exhausting.
Oh, steady rhythm, that's what counts. Once you get on, you never need get off.
Oh, but the hills, Madam Arcati. Pushing up those awful hills.
Oh, just knack. Down with your head, up with your heart, and you're up over it in a flash and skimming down the other side like a dragonfly. This is the best dry martini I've had for years.
Oh, have another?
Certainly. You're a very clever man. Oh, anyone can write books, but it takes a real artist to make a dry martini that's dry enough.
Well, are you writing anything nowadays, Madam McCarthy?
Oh, yes, regular as clockwork, every morning 7 till 1.
Is it a novel or a memoir?
It's a children's book. I have to have it finished by the end of October to catch the Christmas sales. It's mostly about small animals, and the hero is a moss beetle. Well, I had to give up my memoir of Princess Paliantani because she died in April. Well, I was talking to her the other day, and she implored me to go on with it, but I hadn't the heart.
You talked to her the other day?
Yes, through my control, of course. She seemed rather irritable.
Oh, it's funny, isn't it, to think of people in the spirit world being irritable. I mean, one can hardly imagine it, can one?
Well, we have no reliable guarantee the afterlife will be any less exasperating than this one.
Oh, Mr. Condamine, how could you?
I suppose it's dreadfully ignorant of me, but who was Princess Paliantani?
Well, originally she was a Jewess from Odessa of quite remarkable beauty, and it was an accepted fact that people would stand on the seats of railway stations to watch her whiz past.
Oh, she was a keen traveller.
In her younger days, later on, she married a Mr. Clark from the consular service and settled down for a while.
Oh, but how did she become Princess Paliantani?
Oh, that was some years later. Old Mr. Clark passed over and left her penniless with two strapping girls.
How unpleasant.
Well, there was nothing for it but for her to obey the beckoning finger of adventure and take to the road once more. So off she went, bag and baggage, to Vladivostok.
An extraordinary place to go.
Oh, she had cousins there. Well, years later, she met old Paliantani. He was returning from a secret mission in Japan. He was immediately staggered by her beauty and married her soon afterwards. Well, then her life became really interesting.
I'd hardly describe it as dull before.
What happened to the girls?
Well, she neither spoke to them nor saw them for 23 years.
Oh, how extraordinary.
Well, not really. She was always rather erratic emotionally.
Dinner is served, ma'am.
Thank you, Edith. Shall we?
No red meat, I hope.
Well, there's meat, but I don't think it'll be very red. Would you prefer an egg or something?
Oh, no, thank you. It's just that I make it a rule never to eat red meat before I work. It sometimes has an odd effect.
What sort of effect?
Oh, nothing of the least importance. If it isn't very red, it won't matter. Anyhow, let's risk it.
Very well. Come on, Mrs. Bradman. Madam Carty, you're on Charles's right.
Oh, how charming. One way or another. Even as a child, she was given to the most violent, destructive tempers. Very inbred, you know.
Oh, well, yes, she must have been.
Well, my control was quite frightened the other day when we were talking. I could tell from her voice. After all, she's only a child.
Oh, do you always use a child as control, Madam McCarty?
Yes, generally they're the best. Well, some mediums do prefer Indians, of course, but personally, I've always found them to be unreliable.
Well, in what way unreliable?
Well, for one thing, they're frightfully lazy, and whenever faced with any sort of difficulty, well, they're rather apt to go off into their own tribal language, which is naturally unintelligible, and that generally spoils everything and wastes a great deal of time. No, children are undoubtedly more satisfactory, particularly once they get to know you and understand your ways. Well, Daphne's been with me for years.
Oh, and she still goes on being a child. I mean, does she show any sign of growing older?
Well, time values are utterly different on the other side from our own.
Oh. Do you feel funny when you go off into a trance?
Well, what do you mean funny?
Well, I don't think Mrs. Bradman meant funny in its common implications, did you, Mrs. Bradman? I'm sure she meant odd or strange.
Yes, the word was a rather unfortunate choice.
Oh, I'm sure I'm very sorry.
Oh, please don't be in the least. Please don't apologise.
So when did you first discover that you had these extraordinary powers?
Well, when I was quite tiny. My mother before me, you know, was a medium, and so I had every opportunity of starting from the ground floor up. I had my first trance when I was 4 years old, and my first ectoplasmic manifestation when I was 5 and a half. What an exciting day that was, I shall never forget it. Of course, the manifestation itself was of a short duration and rather small, but for a child of my tender years, most gratifying.
Oh, your mother must have been so pleased.
Yes, she was.
Can you foretell the future?
Oh, certainly not. I disapprove of fortune tellers most strongly.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, too much guesswork and fake mixed up with it, even when the gift is genuine, which it only very occasionally is. Oh, you can't count on it.
Why not?
Well, time again. time is the reef upon which all our frail mystic ships are wrecked.
Do you mean to say that it has never yet been proven that the past, the present, and the future are not one and the same thing?
Well, I long ago came to the conclusion that nothing has definitely been proven about anything.
How very wise. Thank you, Edith.
Yes, ma'am.
We're not to be disturbed for the next hour or so.
Yes, ma'am.
If anyone calls, you're to take a message.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, unless it's an urgent call for George.
Unless it's a call for Dr. Bradman. There's not likely to be one, is there?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Oh, well, it won't matter once I've gotten started, but any interruption in the preliminary stages would prove catastrophic.
Oh, I wish the men would hurry up. I'm terribly excited.
Oh, please don't be. It makes everything much, much more difficult.
I'm sure they won't be long.
I had a bit the enigma said to me, I smell gas. And I thought, well, it's not me.
Well, Madam Arcadi, the time is drawing near.
Oh, who knows? It may be receding.
How very true.
I hope you're feeling in the mood, Madam McCarthy.
But it isn't a question of mood, it's a question of concentration.
Well, if you're not quite ready to start, we can perfectly easily wait.
Oh, nonsense, my dear, I'm absolutely ready. Hey-ho, to work we go.
Is there anything you'd like us to do?
Do?
Like turn out the lights or hold hands or anything?
All that will come much later. First, a few deep breaths of fresh air. Oh, you may talk if you wish. It will not disturb me in the least.
Oh dear.
Must congratulate you on an excellent dinner, darling.
Thank you, darling. Although the mousse was a little odd.
It did look hysterical, but it was delicious.
That cuckoo is very angry.
Beg your pardon?
I said that cuckoo is very angry. Listen.
Well, how can you tell?
Timbre. Oh, no moon. That's just as well, I think. And there's mist rising up from the marshes. There's no need for me to light my bicycle lamp, is there? I mean, no one's likely to fall over it.
Well, we're not expecting anyone else.
Good night, you foolish bird. You have a table?
Ah, yes, we thought this one would do.
Oh, yes, I think this would be much better.
Change over.
You told Edith we don't want to be disturbed for a little while.
course, darling.
This is a moment I always hate.
Are you nervous?
Oh, yes. When I was a girl, I always used to be sick.
How fortunate you grew out of that.
I know, I used to be sick as a girl as well. I could never travel with any degree of safety until I was 14.
Little Tommy Tucker sings for her supper. What shall he have but brown bread and butter? I really despise that because it doesn't rhyme, but Daphne loves it.
Oh, Daphne's Madam McCarthy's control. She's a little girl.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes, of course.
How old is she?
Rising 7 when she died.
And when was that?
February the 6th, 1884.
Oh, poor little thing.
She's getting pretty long in the tooth now, I should think.
Well, you should think, Dr. Bradman, but I fear you don't. Well, not profoundly enough, at least anyway.
Do be quiet, George. You'll put Madame Arcati off.
Oh, it doesn't matter, my dear. I'm quite used to skeptics. They generally turn out to be the most vulnerable and receptive in the long run.
You'd better take that warning to heart, Dr. Bradman.
Oh, please forgive me, Madam McCarthy. I can assure you I'm most deeply interested.
Oh, it's of no consequence. Please, would you sit at the table?
Mr. Bradman.
Place your hands downwards on it. Yes, fingers should be touching. That's right. That is the gramophone, I presume, Mr. Condon.
Ah, yes, it's an electric one. Would you like to get started?
No, stay where you are, I can manage. Now, what have we here? Brahms, oh no. Rachmaninoff, just Lauren, where's the dance music?
Oh, they're the loose ones on the left.
Ah, yes, I can see it.
There's none of them very new, I'm afraid.
Well, Daphne is really rather more attached to Irving Berlin than anybody else. She likes to chew and she can hum. Oh, here's one. Always.
Always?
What's the matter, Charles?
Now, the light switch is at the door.
Yes, all except the one near the gramophone.
Very well, I understand.
Fingers touching, George. Remember what Madame Arcati said?
Now, there are one or two things that I should like to explain. Would you all listen attentively?
Of course.
Presently, when the music begins, I shall switch out the light, and then I may walk around the room a little or lie down flat. In due course, I will draw up this dear little stool and come and join you at the table, and I shall sit between you, Mr. Condamine, and you, Mrs. Bradman. I must ask you not to address me directly or move or do anything in the least distracting. Is that quite clear?
Yes, perfectly.
Now, I cannot guarantee that anything at all will happen. Daphne may be unavailable. She's had a head cold recently, poor child. She's been under the weather. On the other hand, a great many things may occur. One of you may have an emanation, for instance. Or we may make contact with a poltergeist, which would be extremely noisy and destructive.
Well, in what way destructive?
Well, they throw things, you know.
No, I didn't know.
But we must cross that bridge when we come to it, mustn't we?
Yes, by all means.
Well, fortunately, elementals are quite unusual at this time of year.
And what do elementals do?
Oh, well, they're rather unpredictable, my dear. Sometimes they take the form of a gust of cold wind.
Oh, I don't think I should like that.
Sometimes reaching almost hurricane velocity.
Well, you don't think it would be a good idea to take some of the ornaments off the mantelpiece?
Oh, that won't be necessary, my dear. I can assure you, Mrs. Condamine, I have my own way of dealing with elementals.
I'm very glad to hear it.
Now, are you ready to empty your mind?
Do you mean we should think of nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Concentrate on a space or a nondescript colour. That's usually the best way.
Do my damnedest.
Good work. Now, I shall begin the music. Right!
Oh dear.
Shh, please, quiet. Is there anybody there? Is there anybody there? One rap for yes, two raps for no. Now then, is there anybody there? Oh, shh, please. Is that you, Daphne? Is your cold better, dear? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Are you doing anything for it? Oh, I'm afraid she's rather fretful. Now then, Daphne, is there anybody there who wishes to speak to anybody here? Oh, Daphne, please, you're hurting me. Oh, no, dear, there's a good child. Oh, oh. Now, you say there is somebody there who wishes to speak to somebody here? Is it me? Is it Dr. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Bradman? Is it Mrs. Condamine? Oh, behave yourself, son. Is it Mr. Condamine? Oh, there's someone who wishes to speak to you, Mr. Condamine.
Tell them to leave a message.
Oh, please, Mr. Condamine, I must ask you not to be so flippant.
Charles behave.
Sorry, it slipped out.
Now, do you know somebody who's passed over recently?
Not recently, except my cousin who's in the civil service, but we haven't spoken for years.
Are you Mr. Condamine's cousin in the civil service? Oh, no, we've drawn a blank. Can you think of anyone else? Rack your brains.
Well, it might be old Mrs. Plummet, and she died on Whit Monday.
Well, I can't imagine why Mrs. Plummet would wish to talk to me. We had very little in common.
It's only a suggestion, Charles.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet?
You might need to shout, she was rather deaf.
Are you old Mrs. Plummet? No, there's nobody there.
Oh, how disappointing. Just as we were getting on so nicely.
Violet, be quiet.
Well, there's nothing for it but for me to go into a trance, which I had hoped to avoid because it's so exhausting. But what must be, must be. Excuse me a moment while I begin the music again.
Oh, not always. Don't play it always.
Charles.
I'm afraid I must. It would be imprudent to change horses midstream, if you see what I mean.
Get your way.
Little tummy tucker sings for a shepherd.
That's Daphne. I think she needs her androids now.
Please. Oh, good to pick it up or leave it where it is.
Well, how the hell do I
There's
know?
no need to snap at me. Leave it where it is.
Who said that?
Who said what?
Somebody said leave it where it is. heard it distinctly.
I never heard a sound.
It was you, Ruth. You're playing tricks.
I'm doing nothing of the sort, Charles.
Good evening, Charles.
Who said that?
Charles, what are you talking about?
Well, you mean to say one of you must have heard? One of you must have heard that.
I didn't hear a thing.
Neither did I. I wish I had. I should love to hear something.
You were playing the tricks, Charles.
I'm not. It's ventriloquism. That's what it is. Ventriloquism.
It's difficult to think of what to say after 7 years, but I suppose good evening is as good as anything else.
Who are you?
Elvira, of course. Don't be so silly.
I can't bear this anymore. Get up, everybody. The entertainment's over.
Charles, what on earth? What's going on?
Never again. That's all I can say. Never again. As long as I live.
Are you trying to say that you heard something that we didn't? Really?
No. I was just kidding.
I know you were.
Oh dear, look at Madame Arcati.
Oh, wake her up. Wake her up as soon as possible.
Let's leave her where she is.
She might stay like that for hours.
Nope, she's out, alright?
Wake her up. It's dangerous to leave her like that.
Nope, I don't think so.
Come on.
Hey,
Wake
easy
up,
on-
Madam Arcati. Wake up, Madam.
Hey, easy on man.
Oh, Bradman, get some brandy. Bradman, give me a hand. Get me on the chair.
Hey, bro.
Madam Arcati, wake up. Wake up, Madam Arcati.
And here's the baby, Charles.
Wake up, Arcati. Look at this.
Careful, you're spilling it all down her dress.
She's coming round.
Well, that's that.
Are you all right?
Certainly I am. I've never felt better in my life.
Oh, has some more brandy?
Oh, so that's the funny taste in my mouth. Oh, fancy allowing them to give me brandy, Dr. Bradman. Brandy on top of a trance may have been catastrophic. Take it away, please. I probably shan't sleep as it is.
No, I won't.
Why ever not?
Well, the whole experience has unhinged me.
Well, what happened was it satisfactory?
Nothing happened after you went off.
Oh, yes, it did. I felt it. Well, no poltergeist at any rate. That's a good thing. Any apparitions?
No, not a thing.
No ectoplasm?
Well, I'm not sure what that is, but I don't think so.
Curious, very curious. I feel as though something tremendous has taken place.
Charles pretended he heard a voice in order to frighten
I
us.
was only joking.
A very poor joke, if I may say so. Nevertheless, I am prepared to swear that there is somebody else psychic in this room other than myself.
Well, how could there be?
I do hope I haven't gone and released something. We are bound to find out, however, in the next day or so. If a manifestation should occur, or you hear any unexpected noises, you might contact me at once.
Oh, telephone immediately.
Right, well, I really feel as though I ought to be going now.
Well, would you like something before you go?
Oh, no, I have some Ovaltine already in a saucepan at home. It only needs hotting up.
Would you like to leave your bicycle here and let us drive you?
I honestly think you should, Madame Arcati. After that trance, you can't be feeling quite yourself.
Oh, nonsense. Boys feel capital after a trance. Rejuvenates me. Well, goodbye, Mrs. Condamine.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I'm so sorry so little occurred. It's probably that head cold of Daphne's. Well, you know what children are whenever they have anything wrong with them. We must try again some other evening.
That's really lovely.
Mrs. Bradman.
It was thrilling, it really was. I felt the table absolutely shaking under my hands.
Doctor.
Congratulations, Madam McCarthy.
Oh, I'm well aware of the irony in your voice, Doctor. In fact, I think you would be an excellent subject for telepathic hypnosis. I have a friend who is an expert. I'd like her to look you over.
I'm sure I'll be charmed.
Well, good night, everyone, and next time we really must put our backs into it.
Oh, be careful, Mrs. Condamine. She might hear you.
I can't help it. I've been keeping it in for hours.
Oh, she certainly put you in your place, George, and served you right.
She's mad, of course. Mad as a hatter.
Oh, but do you think she really believes?
Oh, of course not. The whole thing's a put-up job. But I must say, she shoots a more genuine line than they generally do.
She's probably half convinced herself by now.
Yeah, possibly. The trance was authentic enough, but that's easily accounted for.
Hysteria.
Yes, certain type of hysteria, I should imagine.
Well, I do hope Mr. Condamine got all the atmosphere he wanted for his book.
Well, he might have got a great deal more if he hadn't gone and tried to play a trick on us. Oh, a bit of cold air. Is the window open?
No, shut.
Oh, perhaps it's one of those, what do you call them, that Madame Arcadi was talking about.
Elementals, dear.
Ah.
Elementals.
Oh, it couldn't be. She distinctly said it was the wrong time of year for elementals.
Oh, yes.
Well, the old girl's gone off cycling on her bike like a bat out of hell. Had a bit of trouble lighting her lamp.
Oh, poor thing.
You know, I've a theory about her. I believe she's entirely sincere.
Oh, Charles, how could she be?
Well, it's possible, isn't it, Doctor? Some form of self-hypnosis?
Yeah, possible. As I was saying to your wife just now, there's certain hysterical subjects that just...
George, dear, we really must be going home. It's terribly late, and you do have to be up so early in the morning.
You see, as soon as I start talking about a subject that interests me, my wife goes ahead and interrupts me.
You know I'm right, darling. It's past 11.
I'll tell you what, I'll read up on the whole map tonight, just for fun of it.
Righto. Would you like a drink before you go?
No, thanks. Violet is right, I'm afraid. I do have to get up abominably early in the morning. I have a patient being operated on in Canterbury.
It's been a thrilling evening. I shall never forget it. It was sweet of you to include us.
You're very welcome. I shall let you know if we find any poltergeists whirling about.
Oh, we'll forgive you if you didn't. Good night, Mrs. Condamine. Thank you so much.
Come along, George.
You sure about the drink?
Quite sure, thank you. Right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Well, darling,
Well,
would you say this evening had been profitable?
yes, I suppose so.
I must say, I found it extremely funny at moments.
Yeah, it certainly was.
What's the matter?
The matter?
Yes, you seem odd somehow. Do you feel quite well?
Yes, I feel fine. I think I have a drink. It's rather cold in here, isn't it, dear?
We'll come over by the fire.
I don't think I'll take any notes tonight. I'll start fresh in the morning.
Charles!
Elvira!
He was very clumsy, Charles, dear.
It's true, it was you.
Of course it was.
Charles, what are you talking about? What are you looking over there for?
Don't you see?
See what?
Elvira!
Elvira?
Yes, Elvira, dear, this is Ruth. Ruth, this is Elvira.
Come and sit down, dear, and I'll fix you another brandy. Don't worry about the mess on the carpet. Edith can clean it up in the morning.
You mean to say you can't see? You don't see her?
This is a joke, dear. It's gone far enough. Now sit down.
But you must see her. She's standing right there.
I think you might at least be a little more pleased to see me, dear. After all, you conjured me up.
I did no such thing.
Nonsense, that awful child with the cold told me you want to see me urgently.
Oh my God, it's all a mistake. A horrible mistake.
Stop talking like that, Charles. As I said before, if this is a joke, it's gone far enough.
Oh my God, I must be going mad.
Take some brandy.
There, are you satisfied?
Now sit down.
What use will sitting down do?
I want you to relax. You can't relax standing up.
Well, African natives can. They can stand on one leg for hours.
I don't happen to be an African native.
You don't happen to be a what?
An African native.
What's that got to do with it?
Nothing. Look, see, I'm sitting down.
Good. Now drink some brandy.
Some more, please.
Certainly.
Most unwise. You always have had a weak head.
I could drink you under the table.
There's no need to be aggressive, Charles. I'm doing my best to help you.
I'm sorry.
Here, drink this and then we'll go up to bed.
Get rid of her, Charles. Then we can talk in peace.
That's a thoroughly immoral suggestion. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
What is there immoral in that?
I wasn't talking to
Who
you.
were you talking to?
Elvira, of course.
Out of the virus.
There now, she's getting cross.
I can't blame her.
What don't you blame her for?
Oh, God.
Now look here, Charles, I gather you've got some plan behind all this. I'm not quite a fool. I suspected you when you were doing that idiotic seance.
What plan could I possibly have?
Oh, I don't know. It's probably got something to do with the characters in your book. How one of them might react in a certain situation. I refuse to be used as a guinea pig unless I'm warned beforehand what it's all about.
Ruth, Elvira is standing there, just a few yards from you.
Yes, dear, I can see her distinctly, under the piano with the zebra.
Ruth, please.
I'm not going to stay here arguing any longer.
Hooray!
Shut up.
How dare you speak to me like that? I'm now going up to my room. I shan't be asleep. You can come and say goodnight to me if you feel like it.
That's big of her, I must say.
Oh, shh, be quiet. You're behaving like a gun tonight.
That is all I have to
hallucination.
I'm afraid I don't know the technical term for it.
Well, where have you come from then?
You know, it's most peculiar, but I seem to have forgotten.
Well, are you going to be staying indefinitely?
I don't know that either.
Oh my God!
Oh, why would you hate it so much if I was?
You must admit it would be a bit embarrassing.
Oh, I don't see why. It's all just a question of adjusting yourself.
Now look here, Elvira.
I think it's horrid of you to be so unwelcoming and disagreeable.
Dear, I've been married to Ruth for 5 years, and you've been dead 7.
Not dead, Charles. Passed over. It's considered vulgar to say dead where I come from.
Passed over then.
At any rate, now that I'm here, you could at least make a pretense of being amicable about it.
Well, I am pleased in one way.
Oh, I don't believe you love me anymore.
I should always love the memory of you.
You mustn't think me unreasonable, Charles, but I really am a little hurt. You called me back, and at great inconvenience I came, and you've been thoroughly churlish ever since I arrived.
I did not call you back.
Nonsense! I remember distinctly. That child called me back, called me. I was playing backgammon with a very sweet old Oriental gentleman. I think his name was Genghis Khan. Anyway, I've just thrown double sixes and then that child paid me and the next thing I knew I was in this room. Perhaps it was your subconscious.
Well, you must find out how long you're staying, so we can make arrangements accordingly.
I don't see how I can.
Well, rack your brain. There must be someone on the other side, or whatever you call it, who you can ask.
I can't think. It seems so far away.
Well, you must know someone other than Genghis Khan.
Oh, Charles.
What's the matter?
I want to cry, but I don't think I'm able to.
What do you want to cry for?
Oh, it's seeing you again, and you've been so irascible, just like you always used to be.
Oh, I don't mean to be irascible.
Oh, darling, I don't mind really. I never did.
Is it cold, being a ghost?
No, I don't think so.
What happens if I touch you?
I doubt if you're able to. Do you want to?
Oh, I can't. It's awful.
Perhaps it's just as well if I'm to be here for any length of time.
What am I to do? What am I to do?
What's the matter?
Oh, it feels so strange seeing you again.
Oh, that's better.
What's better?
Your voice was kinder.
Was I ever unkind to you when you were alive?
Often!
Oh, how can you? That must be an exaggeration.
Not at all! You're an absolute pig that time we stayed at Cornwall in that awful hotel. You hit me with a billiard cue.
Only very, very gently.
I loved you very much.
I loved you too. I can't touch you. I suppose I should wake up soon. I am dreaming.
That's right. Put your head back.
Like this.
Can you feel anything?
Only a gentle breeze blowing through my hair.
Well, that's better than nothing.
I suppose if I'm mad, they'll put me in an asylum.
Don't worry about that. Just relax.
Poor Ruth.
To hell with Ruth.
morning, darling.
Good morning, Charles.
Certainly is.
What?
A good morning. Tremendously good morning. A cloud in the sky and everything looks newly washed.
Edith's keeping your breakfast hot. You'd better ring.
Anything interesting in the weekly?
Don't be silly, Charles.
I take work all day. It's an ordinary thing about daylight, isn't it?
How do you mean?
The way it reduces everything back to normal.
I'm sure I'm very glad to hear it.
You're very glacial this morning.
Are you surprised?
Oh yes, frankly I am.
Really?
Oh, I always thought of you as a woman of understanding and compassion.
Perhaps this is one of my off days.
Good morning, Edith.
Good morning, sir.
Feeling fit?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
How's Cook?
I don't know, sir. I haven't asked her.
Oh, you should. You should begin every day asking people how they are. Oils the wheels.
Yes, sir.
Ask her for me, would you?
Yes, sir.
That'll be all for now, thank you, Edith.
Yes, ma'am.
I really wish you wouldn't be facetious with the servants, Charles. It undermines your morale.
I consider that remark retrogressive, if not downright feudal.
I don't care what you consider it. I have a house to run and you don't.
You implying I couldn't.
You're at liberty to try.
Take back what I said about it being a good morning. It's a horrid morning.
You better eat your breakfast while it's hot.
It isn't.
Now look here, Charles. In your younger days, this display of roguish flippancy might have been alluring. In the middle-aged novelist, it's nauseating.
Would you rather I was arrive at your feet in a fitted self-abasement?
Certainly be more appropriate, but equally nauseating.
I don't see what I've done that's so awful.
You behaved abominably last night. You wounded me and insulted me.
I was the victim of an aberration.
Nonsense, you were drunk.
Drunk!
You had 4 strong dry martinis before dinner, far too much burgundy at dinner, heaven knows how much port and Tamale with Dr. Bradman while I was doing my best to entertain that mad woman. And 2 double brandies later, I gave them to you myself. Of course you were drunk.
That's your story, is it?
You refused to come to bed, and when I came down at 3 in the morning to find out what had happened to you, I found you in an alcoholic coma on the sofa with the fire out and your hair all over your face.
Something happened to me last night, Ruth. Something very peculiar happened to me.
Nonsense.
It's not nonsense. I know it seems like nonsense in the cold, brutally harsh light of day, but last night it was anything but nonsense.
And you
Last night I had a hallucination of some sort.
You seriously expect me to believe that you weren't drunk?
If I was drunk, I'd have a terrible hangover right now, wouldn't I?
I'm not entirely convinced you haven't.
I haven't got the trace of a headache. Anyway, look, my tongue's not coated.
Not the least desire to have your tongue. Kindly put it in again.
I know what it is. You're frightened.
Frightened? What is he to be frightened of?
Elvira! You wouldn't have minded it all as much if I'd been drunk, but it's because it was all mixed up with Elvira.
I seem to remember telling you before dinner that your views on female psychology were didactic. I was right. I should have added they were puerile.
Well, that's where it all began.
Where what all began?
Well, we were talking too much about Elvira last night. It's dangerous to have someone strongly in your mind when you're dabbling in the occult.
She wasn't strongly in my mind.
Well, she was in mine.
She was she?
Well, you tried to get me to say that she was more physically attractive than you, so you could hold it over me later.
I don't give a hoot how physically attractive she was.
Oh, yes you do. The whole being is consumed with jealousy.
This is too much.
Women. What do I think of women?
Your views of women are academic, to say the least of it. Just because you've always been dominated by them, it doesn't necessarily follow you know the least about them.
I've never been dominated by anyone.
You were hag-ridden by your mother until you were 23, and then you fell into the clutches of that awful Mrs. whatever her name was.
Mrs. Winthrop Llewellyn.
I'm not interested. Then there was Elvira. She ruled you with a rod of iron.
Elvira never ruled anyone. She was far too elusive. That was one of her greatest charms.
Then there was Maud Charteris.
My affair with Lord Charteris lasted exactly 7.5 weeks, and she cried most of the time.
Tyranny of tears. Then there
If you
was...
wish to make an inventory of my sex life, dear, I'd like to inform you you've missed out quite a few episodes. I'll go and check my diary and bring you a full list after lunch.
No use trying to impress me with your routine amorous exploits, Charles.
The only woman who's ever tried to control me is you. You've been at it for years.
That's completely untrue.
No, it's not. You boss me and bully me and order me about. You won't even allow me to have a hallucination when I want one.
Charles, darling, alcohol will ruin your entire life if you allow it to get hold of you, you know.
Ruth, I want you to know once and for all that what happened last night had nothing to do with alcohol. You very abruptly rationalise it all in your own mind, but I must tell you your deductions are based on a complete fallacy. I was sober from first to last and extremely upset in the business.
Well, you were upset. What about me?
Well, you just behaved with a stoic lack of compassion that frankly shocked me.
I consider I behaved remarkably well under the circumstances.
Rather than offering out a comradely hand to guide me, all you did was start shouting staccato orders at me like a sergeant major.
You seem to forget that you gratuitously insulted me.
I did not.
You told me to shut up. You called me a gutter snipe. And when I quietly suggested we shall go up to bed, you said with the most disgusting leer that it was an immoral suggestion.
I was talking to Elvira.
If you were, all I can say is it conjures up a fragrant picture of your first marriage.
My first marriage was very charming, and I consider it to be in the worst possible taste for you to sneer at it.
It's not your first marriage that's consuming me at the moment. It's your second one. Seems to me to be on the rocks.
Only because you continue on with this ridiculous attitude.
My attitude is that of any woman whose husband gets drunk and hurls abuse at her.
I was not drunk!
Quiet, they'll hear you in the kitchen.
I don't care if they hear me in Folkestone Town Hall. I was not drunk!
Control yourself,
How
Charles.
can I control myself in this blind stubbornness? It's giving me claustrophobia.
Perhaps you better ring up Dr. Bradman.
Can I clear, please, madam?
Thank you, Rita.
Cook wants to know about lunch.
Have you been to lunch today, Charles?
I'll be fine upstairs in my bedroom with a bottle of gin, thanks.
Don't be silly. Tell Cook we shall both be in.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to hike this afternoon. Is there anything you want?
A great deal, but I doubt you'll get any of it in height.
Tell Cook to put Alan Self down on the list, thank you, Rita.
Yes, ma'am.
It's clouding over.
You have a genius for understatement. Now look, reasonable.
I'm perfectly reasonable.
I really do believe that last night, when we were having the seance, I heard Elvira's voice.
Oh, you put up with it for 5 years.
And later on, I distinctly feel that I saw her and talked to her, and after you'd gone up to bed, we sat down here on the couch and had a cosy little chat.
And you seriously expect me to believe that you weren't drunk?
When I had a drink and I turned to see Elvira, I saw her. That's why I dropped the glass.
But you couldn't have seen her.
I know that, but I did.
Well, I'm willing to concede then that perhaps you imagined you did.
Well, that's what I've been trying to get all along.
There's obviously something wrong with you then.
Exactly, there's something fundamentally wrong with me. Oh, God.
How do you explain it?
Well, I can't. That's what's so awful.
Well, did you feel well yesterday during the day I mean?
Yes, I feel fine.
And what did you have for lunch?
Well, you ought to know. You had it with me.
Let me see, there was lemon sole and that cheese thing.
Well, I don't see why having a cheese thingy for lunch would make me see my deceased wife after dinner.
Well, you never know, it was rather rich.
Well, you had just as much of it as me and you didn't see your dead husband.
This is getting us nowhere, Charles.
Well, of course it's not if you're going to ascribe supernatural phenomena to colonic irritation.
Supernatural grandmother.
I admit she would be a lot less agitating.
Perhaps you ought to see a nerve specialist.
Well, I'm not the least bit neurotic and never have been.
Psychoanalysis then.
I refused to spend countless expensive months being embarrassed, only to be told at the end of it, when I was 4, I was in love with my rocking horse.
Perhaps there's something pressing on your brain.
Well, I'm sure if I had that, I'd had violent headaches.
Well, not necessarily. An uncle of mine had a lump pressing on his brain for years and he never felt a thing.
Well, I'm sure if I had that, I'd feel it.
Not necessarily. He didn't.
Well, what happened to him then?
Well, he had it removed and he's been as bright as a button ever since.
Oh. Did he ever have hallucinations or see things that weren't there?
I don't think so.
Well, what are we talking about him for? It's a total waste of valuable time.
It's just a suggestion, Charles.
Oh, must be going mad.
Well, how do you feel right now?
Apart from a little nervous, perfectly fine.
Good, and you're not seeing or hearing anything in the least unusual?
No, not a thing.
You actually ruined that border by the sundial. It looks like a mixed salad.
Oh my God!
What is it now?
She's back again!
Don't be idiotic, Charles.
It's all those nasturtiums. They're so vulgar.
Oh, I happen to like nasturtiums.
Like what?
Nasturtiums!
Moderation, but a mess like that, they're beastly.
Ruth, you must see her.
What do you mean about nasturtium?
Oh, don't worry about that now. I tell you, she's here again.
You have been having a nice scene, haven't you? I can hold hear you all the way down the garden.
Mind your own business.
If you behaving like a lunatic isn't my business, nothing is.
I expect it was about me, wasn't it? I know I should be sorry, but I'm not. I'm delighted.
Oh, how could you be so awful? Oh.
I've been doing my best to control myself, Charles, and I'm not going to do it any longer. You're up to something. There's been a certain furtiveness in your manner for weeks.
I'm not up to anything. I haven't been in the least bit furtive.
You're trying to upset me. You're trying to go me doing something I might regret. I won't stand for it. You're making me utterly miserable.
You're so silly. Elvira's here.
Let her have a nice cry. It'll do her good.
Oh, you're utterly heartless.
Heartless.
Oh, Elvira, you must help me.
How?
Make her see you or something.
I'm afraid I couldn't do that. It's technically the most difficult thing. It takes years of practice.
Well, you are here, aren't you? You're not an illusion.
Well, I may be an illusion, but I'm definitely here.
Where did you come from?
I told you last night. I don't know exactly.
Well, you must promise me, if you're going to come and see me again, come and see me when I'm alone.
How unkind you are, making me feel so unwelcome. I've never been treated so rudely.
Elvira!
It's your own fault for having married a woman who's incapable of seeing past the nose on her face. If she had an ounce of sympathy or compassion for you, she'd believe what you tell her.
How could you expect anybody to believe this?
Oh, you'd be surprised how gullible people are. We often laugh about it on the other side.
Charles,
Yes, dear.
I'm awfully sorry I was cross.
You are, dear?
I understand everything now, I really do.
You do?
Of course, darling.
Watch out, she's up to something.
Oh, keep to yourself.
Now come along, let's go upstairs and we'll go to bed.
The way that woman harps on about bed is nothing short of erotic.
Oh, be quiet.
Come along, dear.
Oh, God. No, Ruth, you're wrong. You're wrong. Elvira's here.
Look, I just want you to come upstairs and go to bed and wait until Dr. Bradman arrives.
She'll have you in a straitjacket before you know.
Oh, shut up. Elvira's here, Ruth. I've got, if you let me stay down here for 5 more minutes, I'll go upstairs with you.
Very well then.
Elvira, promise you'll do what I say.
Well, that depends on what it is.
Oh, God. Ruth, you've got to sit down. Sit down, listen very carefully.
Have a cigarette, it will soothe
Oh,
your
I don't
nerves.
want a cigarette.
Well, then you shan't have one.
Ruth, I want to explain to you, without a shadow of emotion, that the ghost, or the shade, or spirit of my first wife, Elvira, is here with us in the room now.
Very well.
I know you're only trying to humour me, but bear with me. Now, watch carefully. Elvira.
Yes.
Ruth, see that bowl of flowers on the piano?
Yes, dear, I did them myself this morning.
Most untidily, if I may say
No,
so.
you may not.
Very well, I never will again, I promise.
Elvira will now carry that vase of flowers from the piano to the mantelpiece. You'll do it for me, dear. Please do it for me.
I don't really see why I should. You've been quite insufferable to me ever since I materialised.
Please.
I suppose I can, just this once. Not that I approve of all these masculine and romantic hands-on.
Now, Ruth,
Yes, dear.
watch carefully.
Very well.
Go ahead, Elvira. Carry it over to the mantelpiece and back again.
Oh, Charles! How could you? You're trying to trick me. It's a trick.
It's not. It was Elvira. Elvira, do something else for God's sake.
Do, my dear, with pleasure.
Elvira, look. Oh, Charles! Charles! Let me go! Let me go! Oh, Charles! It's a trick! It's hallucination! Tell me it's hypnotism! Say it! Say who it is! Charles!
Madam McCarthy.
My dear Mrs. Condamine, I came directly. I got your message.
That was very kind of you.
Oh, kind nonsense. Not kind at all. I look upon it as an outing.
Would you like some tea?
Oh, China or Indian?
China.
Oh, good. I never touch Indian. Upsets my vibrations.
Do sit down.
I find this room very interesting indeed. I noticed it the other evening.
I'm not entirely surprised.
Have you ever been to Cowden Manor?
No, I'm afraid I haven't.
Well, that's very interesting as well. You notice it as soon as you walk into the drawing room. 2 lumps of sugar, please, and no milk at all.
Madame McCarthy, I'm afraid I'm profoundly disturbed and I want your help.
Thought as much. What's in these sandwiches?
Cucumber.
Oh, couldn't be better. Right, fire away.
It's most awfully difficult to explain.
Facts first, explanations afterwards.
Well, it's the facts that are difficult to explain. They're so extraordinary.
Well, facts always are, my dear. Well, take creative talent, for instance. How does one account for that? Look at Shakespeare, Michelangelo. Try to explain Mozart, snatching sounds from the air and putting them down on paper while practically a baby. Facts, plain facts. Oh, I know it's very fashionable these days to ascribe it all to glands, but my response to that is fiddle-dee-dee.
Yes, I'm sure you're quite right.
Come then, take the plunge, out with it. You've heard strange noises in the night, no doubt. Creaking floorboards, banging doors, subdued moaning in the passageways. Is that it?
No, I'm afraid it isn't.
No gusts of cold wind, I hope.
It's worse than that.
I'm all attention.
I know it sounds idiotic, but during the séance the other evening, well, something happened.
I knew it. A poltergeist, no doubt. They're tremendously cunning, you know. They can lie doggo for days.
You know my husband was married before.
Yes, I have heard it mentioned.
His first wife, Elvira, well, she died comparatively young.
Where?
Here, in this house, in this very room.
I'm beginning to see daylight.
Well, she was convalescing after pneumonia and one evening started to laugh helplessly at a BBC musical programme and died of a heart attack.
And she materialised the other evening after I had gone.
Well, not to me, but to my husband.
Oh, capital! Oh, capital! This is splendid!
Be that as it may, Madam McCarthy, please sit down again.
Oh, how can I sit down at a moment like this? It's a triumph, my dear, an absolute triumph! I haven't had such a success since the Sudbury case.
Nevertheless, I must insist upon you controlling your natural exuberance and sitting down. I fully appreciate your pride in your achievement, but I have to tell you it has left my position in this house untenable.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, my dear. I'm being abominably selfish. Now, how can I help?
How? By sending her back, of course, to wherever she came from.
Oh, well, I'm afraid that's easier said than done.
Do you mean she's likely to be here indefinitely?
Well, that depends largely on her.
But my dear Madam McCarthy...
Well, where is she now?
My husband has driven her to Folkestone. She had to see someone. Well, an old friend of hers staying at the Grand.
Right. Well, excuse the formality, but I shall have to make some notes for the psychical research people.
There will be no names mentioned.
The report is confidential.
Good, as you know, it's a small village and gossip would be most unwelcome.
I quite understand. Now, you say she is visible only to your husband.
Yes.
Visible to husband. And audible too, I presume.
Extremely audible.
Extremely audible. Your husband was devoted to her.
It was a happy marriage.
Oh, tut-tut. Husband devoted.
Pardon?
Oh. Now, when did she pass over?
7 years.
Oh, well that means she must have been on the waiting list.
Waiting list?
Yes, otherwise she would have gone past the materialization stage by now. She must have marked herself down for a return visit and never been able to manage it until there was a strong psychic force at work.
Do you mean to say that my husband, Charles, wanted her back all that much?
Oh, possibly, or it may have been her own determination.
That sounds much more likely.
Would you say she was a woman of strong character?
I really can't say, Madame McCarthy. I never knew her, nor am I interested in how or why she got here. I'm simply wanting to find out how to get her away again as soon as possible.
Oh, well, I fully sympathise with you, Mrs. Condamine, and I can assure you I will do anything in my power to help. But, I'm afraid at the moment I can't offer any great hopes.
But I always thought there was some sort of ritual.
Oh, the bell and book method?
Well, yes, I
Oh,
suppose.
poppycock, Mrs. Condamine. In the old days it was very effective, but nowadays, no. I believe that a decline of faith in the spirit world has been causing grave concern.
Has it indeed?
Oh, yes. Once upon a time, even a drop of holy water would send a poltergeist scampering for cover. Not anymore. On sent le niais d'antan.
Be that as it may, Madame McCarthy, I must insist upon you dematerialising my husband's first wife as soon as possible.
Right, well, the time has come for me to tell you frankly, Mrs. Condamine, that I haven't got the faintest idea how to go about it.
But that's outrageous. I ought to hand you over to the police.
Oh, you go too far, Mrs. Condamine.
I go too far indeed. Do you have any understanding what your insane amateur muddling has done?
I have been a professional since I was a child. Amateur is a word I cannot
It
tolerate.
seems to me to be the height of amateurness. To evoke a malignant spirit and not be able to get rid of it again.
Well, I was in a trance. Anything might happen when I'm in a trance.
All I can say is you better go into another trance immediately and get that damned woman out of my house.
Well, I can't go into trances at a moment's notice. It takes hours of preparation, in addition to which I have to be extremely careful of my diet for days beforehand. Well, today, for instance, I happened to lunch with friends and had pigeon pie, which, plus these cucumber sandwiches, makes a trance quite out of the question.
But my dear Madame McCarthy.
Oh, don't upset yourself. There's no point upsetting yourself.
But you don't seem to have the faintest realisation of what this has done to me.
Oh, look on the bright side.
The bright side, indeed. If your husband's first wife suddenly rematerialised and came to live with you, would you be able to look on the bright side?
Well, I resent your tone, Mrs. Condamine. I really do.
Absolutely no right to. I hold you entirely responsible for this whole awful situation.
Well, kindly remember that I came here the other night at your own invitation.
At my husband's invitation.
I did as I was requested to do, which was to hold a séance and make contact with the other side. I had no idea there was any ulterior motive mixed up with it.
Ulterior motive?
Well, your husband was obviously eager to make contact with his first wife. If I had known of that beforehand, I would naturally have consulted you. After all, noblesse oblige.
He had no intention of getting hold of anybody. He merely invited you here in order to gain information for a book he's writing on a homicidal medium.
Am I to understand that I was only invited here in the spirit of mockery?
Not at all. He merely wanted to get some tricks of the trade.
Oh, tricks of the trade? Insufferable! I've never been so insulted in my life. I feel we have nothing further to say to one another, Mrs. Condamine. Good day.
Madame McCarthy, wait, please.
Your attitude has been most unpleasant from the outset, Mrs. Condamine. And some of your remarks have been discourteous to the extreme. And I would like to say, without umbrage, that if you and your husband were foolish enough to tamper with the unseen for paltry motives in the spirit of ribaldry, then whatever has happened to you is your own fault. And to coin a phrase, as far as I'm concerned, you can stew in your own juice. And some of them all!
Damn!
What was Madame Arcati doing here?
She came to tea.
Oh, did you ask her?
Of course I did.
Oh, you didn't tell me you were going to.
You didn't tell me that you were going to ask Elvira to come and live with us.
I didn't.
Oh, yes, you did, darling. It was your subconscious.
Well, what did she come to tea for, anyhow?
She came to get me exercised. Oh, dear, I do wish I could have a cucumber sandwich. I did love them so.
Was that true, Ruth?
Is what true?
What Elvira said.
You know perfectly well I can't hear what Elvira said.
She said you got her here to have her exercise.
We discussed the possibilities.
There's a snake in the grass for you.
You had no such right to do that without consulting me.
I had every right, Charles. This whole situation is impossible.
Well, if you just start being a little nice to Elvira, we might all be able to get on and have a jolly time.
I have no wish to have a jolly time with Elvira.
She simply is bad-tempered, isn't she, darling? I can't think why you married her.
Well, it is to be expected. We must make allowances.
I was never bad-tempered, though, was I? Even when you were beastly to me.
I was never beastly to you.
Where is Elvira now?
On the chair, just here.
Now look here, Elvira. I shall have to call you Elvira, shan't I? Can't very well go on calling you Mrs. Condamine, can I?
I don't see why.
What did she say?
She said she'd like nothing better.
You really are sweet, Charles. I worship you.
I wish to be absolutely honest with you, Elvira.
Oh, hold on to your hats, boys.
I hope that there'll be no misunderstandings between us.
It's a very good idea, Ruth.
Before we go any further, however, I'd like to ask you why you really came here. I can't see that you could have hoped to achieve anything beyond the immediate joke of making Charles some sort of astral bigamist.
I came because the power of Charles' love tugged and tugged and tugged at my heart. Didn't it, my dear?
She said she wanted to see me again.
Well, she's done that now, hasn't she?
Oh, we can't be inhospitable.
I have no wish to be inhospitable, but I should like to know, Elvira, just how long you intend to stay.
I don't know. I really don't know. Isn't that terrible?
She says she doesn't know.
Surely that's a little inconsiderate.
The old spiritualist have any constructive ideas on how to get rid of me?
What did Madame Arcati say?
She said she couldn't do a thing.
Hooray!
Oh, don't be upset, Ruth. You know, with a little time, we'll probably adapt to it. And oh, it's quite an unusual situation. I don't see why we couldn't just have a lot of fun out of it.
Fun! Fun! Charles, are you mad?
Oh, at first I thought I was, but I'm actually starting to enjoy myself quite a bit now.
I've been doing my best to help you. She has the advantage of being able to say whatever she likes without me being able to hear her. Without any modified interpreting.
Modified interpreting? I don't know what you mean.
Oh, yes, you do. You haven't once told me what she really said. You wouldn't dare. Judging by her photograph, I'd say she's the type to use the most unpleasant language.
Ruth, you're not to talk like that.
I've been making polite conversation all through dinner last night and breakfast and lunch today, and I'm damned if I'm going to do it anymore. It's been a nightmare. Since her untimely arrival, she had shown the slightest sign of good manners, the slightest sign of good breeding, I might have felt differently towards her. But all she has done is make jokes and be malicious, and I'm now going up to my room, and I shall have my dinner on a tray. First thing in the morning, I shall contact the Psychical Research Society, and if they can't help me, I shall go straight to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Rose.
Oh, let her go. She'll calm down later on.
This is most unlike her. She's usually so equable.
No, she's not, Charles. Not really. Her mouth gives her away. It's a hard mouth.
Her mouth's got nothing to do with it, and I'd rather you didn't talk about Ruth as though she were a horse.
You love her
Of course I do.
as much as you loved me.
Don't be silly, it's entirely different.
Oh, I'm so pleased. Nothing could ever be the same, could it?
You always behave very badly, Elvira.
Oh, Charles.
I'm now going up to speak to Ruth.
Oh, cowardly custard.
Well, don't be idiotic. I can't leave her like that. I must go go and be nice and a little sympathetic to her.
I don't see why. If she's so set on being disagreeable, I should let her get on with it.
Well, we must make allowances. It's been difficult for her.
She should learn to be more adaptable.
Well, she probably will be in time. It's been quite a shock.
Has it been a shock for you too, dear?
Of course it has.
A nice shock?
What do you want, Elvira?
What? Whatever do you mean?
Well, whenever you became overpoweringly demure, it usually meant you wanted something.
Horrid of you to be so suspicious. All I want is to be with you.
Well, you are.
Oh, I mean alone, darling. If you go upstairs and pan the roof and smile her over, she'll come flouncing back downstairs again, and our lovely evening together will be ruined.
You're incorrigibly selfish.
I haven't seen you for 7 years. It's only natural I should want to spend some time alone with you to talk over old times. I suppose I can let you go if you really think it's your duty.
Of course it is.
Then I don't mind.
You're disgraceful, Elvira.
You won't be long there, will you? You will come back down, won't you?
I shall probably dress for dinner while I'm upstairs, but you can read the Tatler or something.
Oh, darling, you don't have to dress for me.
I always dress for dinner.
What are you going to have? I should like to watch you eat something really delicious.
Now, be a good girl and behave yourself. You can play the gramophone if you like.
Thank you, Charles.
Almost as though some evil forces were at work. Well, I remember once, George and I went on a fortnight's holiday not long after we were married. Well, we were dogged by bad luck from beginning to end. The weather was vile. George sprained his ankle. I came down with a cold and had to spend 2 days in bed. And to crown everything, the lamp in the sitting room fell over and set fire to the treatise George had written on hyperplasia of the abdominal glands.
How awful.
Well, yes. He had to write it all over again, every single word.
Are you sure you wouldn't like a little something to drink?
Oh, no, thank you. No, really not. No, George will be down in a moment, and we'll have to go like lightning. We're meant to be at the Wilmots by 7, and it's nearly that now.
I think also have some sherry. I feel I need it.
Oh, don't worry about your husband's arm, Mrs. Condamine. I'm sure it's only a sprain.
It's not his arm I'm worried about.
Oh. Well, and I'm sure Edith will be up and about again in a few days.
My cook gave notice this morning.
Well, really? Servants are awful, aren't they? Not a shred of gratitude. The first sign of trouble and they run out on you like rats leaving a sinking ship.
I can't feel that your simile was entirely appropriate, Madam, Mrs. Bradford.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it like that, really, I didn't.
Oh, nothing to worry about, Mrs. Bradford. No, Mrs. Condamine, it's only a slight sprain.
I'm so pleased.
Yes, he put up such a fuss when I examined him. Men are so much worse patients than women, especially highly strung men like your husband.
Oh, you think he's highly strung?
Well, yes, I wanted to talk to you about that. I'm afraid he's been overworking.
Overworking?
Yes, he's in a bit of a highly strained mood. Nothing to be unconcerned about, though.
What were the symptoms?
Well, let me see, there was an air of strain with him, an inability to focus on the person he's talking to, and a few rather irregular remarks in his conversation.
Can you think of any specific examples?
Well, he did suddenly shout, "What are you doing in the bathroom?" And then later on when I was writing down his prescription, he suddenly said, "For God's sake, behave yourself."
Well, how extraordinary.
Oh no, he often goes on like that, particularly when he's immersed in writing a book.
Yeah, well, I'm not the least concerned about it, but I do think he should have at least 2 weeks total rest.
Do you think he should go away?
Well, yes, in cases like this, a change of atmosphere is a good idea. It'll work wonders.
Thank you, Doctor. Would you like some sherry?
No thanks, we really must be off.
Oh, how's poor Edith?
She's still recovering from the concussion. She'll be right in a couple of days.
It's funny, isn't it? Your housemaid and your husband both falling down on the same day.
Well, suppose if that sort of thing amuses you.
Oh, well, no, of course, I didn't mean it like that.
Come on, Violet. You're talking too much as usual.
Oh, you are horrid, George. Goodbye, Mrs. Condamine.
Bye.
I'll pop in and see both patients sometime tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Doctor.
Oh, there you are. So how was it?
Fine.
Well, it's only a slight strain. Nothing to be too concerned about.
Is the damn sling really necessary?
Well, it's a good precaution. It will just stop you from using your left hand unless it's really necessary.
Well, I hadn't intended to go to Folkestone this evening.
I wouldn't recommend that.
It's most inconvenient.
You can perfectly easily wait and go another time, Charles.
I can't stand another of these dreary evenings at home, Charles. I haven't seen a movie for 7 years.
Well, let me be the first to congratulate you.
Well, what's that, old man?
Control yourself, Charles.
Oh, nothing.
Okay, well, look, if you do insist on driving, I just have to make sure that you go very slowly and very carefully. Your gear lever's on the right, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, try and use your left hand as little as possible then.
All right.
You can perfectly easily wait to go another time.
Well, couldn't you drive them?
Certainly not. I have the house to take care of and there's poor Edith to think of.
Oh, well, look, I'll leave you to fight out amongst yourselves, but if you do insist on going, just remember, take it carefully because the roads are slippery tonight.
Right. Good night then.
Good night. Goodbye again.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Condamine.
You really are irritating, Elvira. You can perfectly easily wait and go another time. And stop acting like a schoolgirl. You're old enough to know better.
What?
I was talking to Elvira.
She isn't here.
She was a moment ago. She threw these flowers at me.
She's been acting very, very peculiar all day. I know this mood of ours. It usually means she was up to something.
And you're certain she's not here?
Yes, quite certain.
Good. I need to talk to you.
Oh, God.
I must. It's important.
Oh, Ruth, come and sit down. Now look, you've been behaving very well this last few days. I hope you're not going to start going off into one of your states again.
I resent that air of patronage, Charles. I have behaved well, as you put it, because frankly I've had no other choice.
Well, as far as I see it, the position is just as difficult for Elvira as it is for you, if not more so. I mean, the poor little thing comes back from the other side after all these years, and what's she faced with? Nothing but brutality and hostility.
What did she expect?
Well, even an ectoplasmic manifestation deserves a little of the milk of human kindness.
Milk of human fiddlesticks.
Doesn't make any sense, dear.
Elvira is about as trusting as a puff adder.
You're granite, Ruth. Sheer, unyielding granite.
And she's twice as dangerous into the bargain.
Dangerous? How could a poor, wistful little spirit like Elvira be considered even remotely dangerous?
Quite easily, and she's beginning to show her hand.
How? What way?
This is a fight, Charles. A duel. A battle to the death between Elvira and myself.
melodramatic hysteria.
It isn't melodramatic hysteria.
Oh, yes it is. Even these hallucinations you can get from the terrible jealousies in your head.
Oh, I'm doing my best not to lose my temper with you, Charles, and I must say, you're making it increasingly difficult for me.
Well, all these talks of battles and duels.
Elvira came here with one purpose and one purpose only, and if you can't see that, you're a bigger fool than I thought you.
Well, what purpose could she possibly have beyond a natural desire to see me again?
Oh, it's to get you to herself, of course.
Oh, ridiculous. How could she?
By killing you all.
Killing me off? You're mad.
I'm not. Why do you suppose that poor Edith fell down the stairs and nearly cracked her skull?
Well, what's Edith got to do with it?
Oh, the whole top stair was covered in axle grease. Cooked. Discovered it later.
Making this up.
I'm not. I swear I'm not. Why do you suppose when you were cutting down the pear tree, the ladder broke? Because it was practically sawn through on both sides.
Well, why would she want to kill me? Oh, I can perfectly understand her wanting to kill you. But why me?
It'd be her final triumph over me, and she'd have you all to herself in her damned afterlife. She's probably planning some sort of spiritual remarriage. I would put anything past her.
Oh, Ruth.
Stop acting like a wounded spaniel, Charles, and concentrate. This is serious.
Oh, she couldn't be so sly, so wicked. She couldn't.
Perhaps the underworld has deteriorated her.
Well, I mean, as a character, I've always known her to be rather, elusive and strange, but I can't imagine her to be so sly and trying to murder me.
She looks like she's trying to, Charles.
Well, what are we to do?
I'll go straight to Madame McCarthy. I don't care how cross she is with us. She's got to help us. Even if she can't get rid of her, surely she knows some way of dematerialising her or making her harmless. Tell Elvira I've gone to see the vicar. I'll be back in half an hour.
Right. I guess we shouldn't let her know that we think anything's up.
Well, not by the flicker of an eyelid, Charles.
Oh, look out.
What?
I merely said what a nice lookout it is.
What's a nice lookout?
Oh, the weather, Elvira. The glass is going down and down and down. It's positively macabre.
I find it difficult to believe at this time you and Ruth have nothing more interesting to talk about than the weather.
I can't stand this anymore. I really can't.
Ruth, please.
Oh, has she broken out again?
What did you say?
She asked if you'd broken out again.
Now look here, Elvira. Charles and I were not talking about the weather as you so shrewdly suspected. I should loathe to think that we had any secrets from you. So I shall tell you exactly what we were talking about. I was trying to dissuade Charles from taking you into Folkestone this evening. It will be bad for his arm and he can perfectly easily wait until another time.
Ruth.
However, since he seems determined to place your wishes above mine in every matter, I have nothing further to say. I hope you both enjoy yourselves.
God, Ruth.
Have you been hasty to her again, Charles?
No. It's just she doesn't like being thwarted any more than you do.
She's a woman of sterling character. It's a pity she's so ungiving.
I'd rather you didn't talk about Ruth like that. It makes me uncomfortable.
I won't mention her again. Are you ready?
For what?
To go to Folkestone, of course.
Until I've had my sherry first.
Oh, you are tiresome, darling. Don't believe you want to go at all.
Of course I want to go, but don't you think it would be better to go another night? We can go tomorrow. It's filthy outside.
How familiar this all is.
In what way familiar?
All through our married life, I only had to suggest something and you'd immediately start hedging me off.
I am not hedging you off. I merely said...
All right. We'll spend another boring evening at home with Ruth stitching away at that hideous table centre and snapping at us like a terrier.
Ruth is perfectly well aware that that table centre is hideous. It's a present for her mother.
There's no use defending Ruth's taste to me. It's thoroughly artsy-crafty and you know it.
It's not artsy-crafty.
She's ruined this, Ruth. Look at those curtains and that awful shawl on the piano.
Lady McKinley sent us that shawl from Burma.
That's because it was sent all the way to her from Birmingham.
If you don't behave yourself, I shan't take you to Folkestone ever.
Oh, Charles, don't be ugly and grand with me. Please, let's go now.
Not until I finish my sherry.
You are tiresome. I've been waiting about for hours.
Oh, a few more minutes won't make any difference then. Besides, car won't be back for about half an hour.
What do you mean?
Well, Ruth's taken it. She had to go and see the vicar.
What?
What on earth's the matter?
You say Ruth's taking the car?
Yes, she had to go and see the vicar, but don't worry, she'll be back
Oh
soon.
God, go out and stop her at once!
Well, I can't. She's...
Go out and stop her immediately!
What are you going on like this for?
Oh.
Elvira, what have you done?
And I haven't done anything.
You're lying.
I'm not lying. What is there to lie about?
You are. You've done something dreadful.
I haven't done anything, Charles. Oh.
The car! You've done something to the car!
Oh, no, Charles.
Elvira, what have you done? You've done something to the car. Ruth was right. You are trying to kill me. What have you done? Answer me! Answer! Hello? Yes? The bridge at the bottom of the hill? No, I'll come right away. Not at all, Madam Arcady. Won't you please sit down?
Thank you.
Coffee or a liqueur?
No, thank you. I had to come, Mr. Conline.
Yes.
I had a tremendous urge, like a rushing wind, so I hopped on my bike and here I am.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
No, not kind at all. It was my duty, I know it strongly.
Duty?
I reproach myself bitterly, you know.
There's no need, Madam Arcady.
I allowed myself to get into a huff the other day with your late wife. I rode all the way home in the grip of temper. I shall never forgive myself.
My dear Madam Arcady.
Please let me go on. Mine is the shame, mine is the blame. Had I not been so impetuous, had I listened to the cool voice of reason, so much might have been averted.
Madam Arcady, I see no reason for you to feel bad. You were perfectly honest with my wife. You told her exactly what had happened and there was nothing to be done. Please, don't feel sorrow.
I threw up the sponge. In a moment of crisis, I threw up the sponge instead of throwing down the gauntlet.
Madam Arcady, whatever you threw, I feel that circumstances were a little too strong for all of us.
I cannot allow myself to admit defeat so easily. It is gall and wormwood to me. I could at least have concentrated, made an effort.
Never mind.
Oh, but I do mind. I cannot help it. I mind with every fibre of my being. I've been thinking very carefully, and I've also been reading a great deal over the last few dreadful days. I gather we are alone.
Yes, my first wife is upstairs. She's lying down. The funeral exhausted her. And I expect my second wife is with her as well, but of course I have no way of being certain.
You have remarked no difference in the texture of your first wife since the accident?
No, nothing unusual. She's been a little under the weather, perhaps a trifle low-spirited, but that's all.
Well, that washes that out.
I don't understand.
Oh, just a little theory I had. In the 19th century, there was a pretty widespread belief that a ghost, who had participated in the death of a human being disintegrated automatically.
What makes you think Elvira had anything to do with Ruth's death?
Elvira. It's such a pretty name, isn't it? It has a definite limp to it, doesn't it? Elvira. Elvira.
You didn't answer me. How did you know?
Well, it came to me last night, Mr. Condamine. It came to me in a blinding flash. I had just finished my Ovaltine and switched out the light when I started up in bed and cried. Great Scott, I said, I've got it. Well, after that, I began to put 2 and 2 together, and at 3 in the morning, with my brain fairly seething, I began to work on my crystal. But it wasn't very satisfactory, cloudy, you know.
Madam Arcati, I'd be very much obliged if you kept your theories about my wife's death to yourself.
Oh, but my one desire is to help you. I feel I have been dreadfully remiss over the whole affair. Well, not only remiss, but untidy.
I'm afraid there is nothing that can be done.
But there is. There is a formula and I have found it. I copied it out of Witchcraft and its Byways by Edmondson.
What are you talking about?
Pluck up your heart, Mr. Condamine. All is not
My
lost.
dear Madam Arcati.
Well, you are still anxious to dematerialise your first wife, I suppose.
Yes, of course, I'm perfectly furious with her. But,
But what?
well, she's been rather upset these last few days. What with me being angry with her, which she always hated even when she was alive. My second wife hasn't left her side for a minute. You must see things have been very difficult for the poor girl with one thing and another.
Well, your delicacy of feeling does you credit, but I must say, and please forgive the bluntness, you're a damn fool, Mr. Condamine.
You're at liberty to think whatever you wish.
Oh, now, come. There's no point getting on your high horse. Nothing can be achieved like that. Now, I have a formula that I think will get rid of her without hurting her feelings in the least. It's extremely simple, and all that's required is complete concentration from you and a minor trance from me. I may even be able to manage it without lying down.
God, rather.
Charles,
Oh, what's the matter?
what's she doing here?
Well, she came to offer her condolences.
Should have been congratulations.
I'd rather you didn't talk like that. It's in the worst possible taste. Madam Arcati, may I introduce my first wife, Elvira?
How do you do?
Get rid of her, Charles. What does she want?
But where is she now?
Well, she's moving around, all around the room. I'll tell you when she stops and settles.
Is she the one that got me here in the first place?
Yes.
Well, please tell her to get me home again as soon as possible. I'm sick of this place.
Elvira, I'm surprised at you.
I don't care how surprised you are. I want to go home.
Don't be childish.
I'm not being childish. I mean it.
Oh, very interesting indeed. I smell ectoplasm strongly.
What a disgusting thing to say.
Well, where is she now?
Over here by me.
Are you happy, my dear?
Tell a silly old bitch to mind her own business.
Are you weary? Was the journey difficult?
She stopped.
My dear Madam Arcati.
This is wonderful, wonderful.
Get rid of her, Charles. I've got to talk to you.
Madam Arcati.
Please, just a moment. I almost have contact. I can sense the vibrations.
Go on, Elvira. Don't be a spoiled sport. Give her some encouragement.
You promised to get her into the other room.
All right.
Oh, yes, again. Oh,
How's that?
first rate. This is really first rate. Oh, but it's splendid.
So glad you're pleased.
Please, Charles, Brooke will be here soon.
Madam Arcati, please don't think me rude in asking, but would you mind going in the dining room just for a few minutes? My first wife wishes to speak to me alone.
Oh, must I? It's so lovely actually being in the room with her.
I promise it'll only be for a few minutes, and she will be here when you come back.
Oh, very well. Hand me my handbag by the settee.
Get it?
Oh, you darling, you little darling.
How good is she really?
I don't know.
Do you think she can really get me back again?
Oh, my dear child.
Don't call me your dear child. It's smug and supercilious.
There's no need to be rude.
Oh, this whole thing's been a miserable, dreary failure. No what high hopes I had started out with.
Yes, well, you can't expect much sympathy from me. I'm well aware your highest hope was to murder me.
Don't put it like that. It sounds so beastly.
Well, it is beastly. It's the beastliest thing I've ever heard of.
There was a time when you would have welcomed the chance to spend forever and ever with me.
Your behaviour has shocked me immeasurably, Elvira. I had no idea you could be so unscrupulous.
Oh, Charles!
Oh, stop crying.
They're only ghost tears, they don't mean anything. But they're very painful.
Well, you brought this all on yourself, you know.
That's right, rub it in. Anyhow, it's only because I loved you. The silliest thing I ever did was to have loved you. You were always so unworthy of me.
That remark comes perilously close to impertinence.
I sat there on the other side, loving you and thinking only of you. And really, all the way through your affair with that brassy-looking woman in the south of France, I kept on loving you and thinking only of you. And then you married Ruth, and even then I forgave you because I truly believed you loved me best. That's why I put myself down for a return visit and filled in all those dreary forms and waited about in drafty passages for ages and ages. And oh, if only you'd died before you'd met Ruth, everything would have been all right. She ruined you. I hadn't been in this house a day before I realised that. Your books aren't a quarter as good as they used to be.
That's entirely untrue. Ruth has helped me and promoted me all along the way, which is a darn sight more than you ever did.
That's probably what's wrong with it.
All you wanted was to go to parties and enjoy yourself.
I died young. Why shouldn't I have had fun?
Well, you needn't have died at all if you hadn't been idiotic enough to go out on the river with Guy Henderson and get soaked to the skin.
So we're back at Guy Henderson again, are we?
You behaved appallingly over Guy Henderson.
Guy adored me, and he was very attractive.
You told me he didn't attract you in the least.
You'd have gone through the roof if I'd told you that.
Did you have an affair with Guy Henderson?
I'd rather not discuss it if you don't mind.
Answer me. Did you or didn't you?
Of course I did.
You let him kiss you though, didn't you?
Well, how could I stop him? He was bigger than I was.
You swore to me!
Oh, of course I did. You were always making scenes over nothing at all.
Nothing at all?
Oh, you never loved me. It was just your beastly vanity.
You think it was my vanity that upset me about you going out on a punt with Guy Henderson?
It was not a punt. It was a little launch.
I don't care if it was a three-masted schooner. You had no right to go.
You seem to forget why I went. You seem to forget you'd spent the evening making sheep's eyes at that overgrown harridan of a woman with the false pearls.
A woman of Cynthia Sheridan's position would not wear false pearls.
They were practically all she was wearing.
I can see that 7 years in the echoing vaults of eternity have not impaired your native vulgarity.
That was the remark of a pompous
There
ass.
is nothing further to be gained from continuing this conversation.
Oh, you always used to say that when you'd be thoroughly worsted.
Looking back over our married years, I can see with horrid clarity that they were nothing more than a mockery.
You invite mockery, Charles. It's something to do with your personality. Certain type of seedy grandeur.
Now look here, Elvira.
You never suspected it, but I laughed at you steadily from the altar to the grave. All your ridiculous petty jealousies and your fussings and fumings.
You were feckless and irresponsible and morally unstable. I knew that before we left Budley Salterton.
Nobody but a monumental ball would have had a honeymoon at Budley Salterton.
What's wrong with Budley Salterton?
I was an eager young bride, Charles. I wanted glamour and music and romance. All I got was potted palms, 7 hours a day on a damn golf course, and 3-piece orchestra playing Merry England.
Well, you should have said something at the time.
I did, you wouldn't listen. That's why I went out on the moors that day with Captain Bracegirdle.
You swore you went to see your aunt in Exmouth.
It was the moors.
With Captain Bracegirdle?
With Captain Bracegirdle.
Did he make love to you?
Of course.
Oh, God, Elvira.
Only very discreetly. He was in the cavalry.
All I can say is I'm glad to be rid of you.
Well, unfortunately, you're not.
Oh, yes, I am. You're dead. Ruth's dead. I shall sell this house, lock, stock and barrel, and go away.
We will follow you.
Oh, I'll go a long way away. I'll go to South America. You'll hate it there. You're always such a bad traveller.
That can't be helped. We have to follow you. You called us back.
I did not call you back.
Well, somebody did, and it was hardly likely to have been Ruth, would it be?
There's nothing further from my thoughts.
We were discussing me that evening.
I might as well have been discussing Joan of Arc. But it doesn't mean I wanted to come and live with me.
You know, she's actually quite fun.
Stick to the point.
You know, it actually makes me shudder if I'd been successful. It'd be nothing but bickering and arguing forever and ever and ever. I swear I'll be better off with Brooke. At least she'll find her own sin and not get in my way.
Oh, so I get in your way, do I?
Only because I thought you loved me and I sort of felt sorry for you.
I've had enough of these insults. Please go away.
I should like nothing better. I always knew when to cut my losses. That's why I died.
All the brazen sophistry.
Call the old girl back and send her to work.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And stop snivelling.
Call her and I want to go home.
Madam Arcati, would you please come in?
Is the darling still here?
Yes.
Where? Tell me where.
Over by the piano, blowing her nose.
Oh my dear. Oh my dear.
Stop your fawning on me, Charles, or I shall break something.
Madam Arcati, my wife and I have discussed it, and she wishes to go home immediately.
Home?
Well, wherever she came from.
Well, you don't think she'd like to stay a few days longer while I try and get things a little more organised?
No, I want you to now.
Oh, I could come and be with her. I could bring my crystal.
God forbid.
No, Madam Arcati, we're agreed that she is to go home as soon as possible. Now, please strain every nerve, Madam Arcati. Make every effort. You said something about a formula.
Well, if you insist.
I most emphatically do insist.
I cannot guarantee anything. I will try my best, but it may not work.
What is the formula?
Nothing more than a little verse that fell into disuse after the 17th century. I shall need some pepper and salt.
There's some in the dining room, I'll get it for you.
We should, of course, have some shepherd's wort and a frog or two, but I think I'll manage without. Now, you mustn't be frightened, my dear. It's absolutely painless.
Will this do?
Yes, I only need a little. Just pop it there.
Right.
Right. Now, let me see. Ah, yes. Now, sprinkle it, will you? In the middle. Just a soupçon. Yes, in the middle. That's right.
This is going to be a complete flop. I can tell you that here and
You
now.
must try anything.
Now then. Flower from that vase. There's a good chap.
Merlin does this sort of thing to parties with it all the time. Bores us stiff with it.
Now then, the gramophone.
Yeah.
We ought, of course, to have zither or reed pipes, but I think we better have the same record as last time.
I'll get it.
Oh, if only Mr. Ernsworth from the Royal Cyclical were here, he'd have a fit, he really would. Don't play it yet, my dear. Now, Mr. Condamine, please take a seat. Place your hands downwards on the table.
What about
Don't put your fingers in the pepper.
That's okay.
I shall get the lights myself. Now then. Oh, shucks, I almost forgot. One triangle, one half circle, and a little dot.
This is a complete waste of time. She's a fake.
I must give it a go.
I'll wager you 10 to 1. It's going to be a complete failure.
Now then, can you please ask your wife, Mr. Condamine, to take a seat, lie down at the table, at the sofa.
Go on, Elvira, lie on the sofa.
This is ridiculous. Don't blame me if I get the giggles.
You mustn't. Concentrate. Think of nothing.
Right. Yes, that's right. Arms extended, legs extended, and breathing easily. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Is she comfortable?
Are you comfortable, dear?
No.
She's very comfortable.
Right then, Miss Condamine, I shall join you shortly at the table. Now, I may have to go into a slight trance. If I do, pay no attention.
Right.
Right then, the music and we're away. And the lights! Jerry! Control yourself!
Be quiet.
Concentrate. Ghostly sceptre, ghoul or fiend, nevermore be thou convened. Shepherd's ward and holy rite, banish thee into the night.
Disagreeable little verse.
Is there anybody there? Is there anybody there? 1 rap for yes, 2 raps for no. Now then, is there anybody there? Is that you, Daphne? Sorry to bother you, dear, but Mrs. Condamine would like to return. Now then, Daphne, did you hear what I said? Can you help us? Hold! Hold tight, Mr. Condamine is trying to break away!
Madam Arcati! What happened? Are you hurt? Madam Arcati! Wake up!
She's in one of her damn trances and I'm here as much as ever.
Madam Arcati! Wake up! You must wake up!
Oh, leave her alone. She's having a whale of a time.
Come on! Wake up, Madam Arcati!
If I ever do get back, I'm going to strangle that bloody little Daphne.
What happened? Nothing at all.
Oh, yes, it did. Something happened.
No, you fell over, and that's it.
Is she still here?
Yes.
Well, something must have gone wrong.
I'm sick of being messed around with like this, Charles. Make her do it properly.
Something happened. I felt it. I sensed it in my trance. It shivered through me.
Once and for all, Charles, what the hell does this mean? Well, we've done all we can, and I must say I couldn't be more exhausted.
It'll be daylight soon.
That old clock doesn't even work anymore, does it?
I must say, when it did, I found it extremely irritating.
It was a present from Uncle Walter.
Who's Uncle Walter?
Elvira's.
Well, all I can say is he might have chosen something a bit more decorative.
If that were really all you could say, Ruth, I'm sure it would be a great comfort to us all.
There it is now.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
Why?
Well, the reply to that's really too obvious.
Really?
Would you two stop bickering for just 1 minute?
I must say this is one of the most frustrating nights I've ever spent.
The reply to that is equally as obvious.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean.
Oh, skip it.
Now look here, Elvira. If we stay in this house together, and it seems unfortunately likely, we had better come to some sort of an arrangement.
What sort of arrangement?
You are most definitely not staying in this house indefinitely.
Well, with you then, it shall have to be with you.
Well, I don't see why. Couldn't you take a cottage or something?
You called us back.
I've already explained till I'm black in the face. I did not call you back.
Madam McCarthy said you did.
Madam Arcati is a muddling old fool.
I could have told you that at the start.
You behaved very shabbily, Charles.
Oh, I don't see what I've done.
Quite frankly, not enough. And we've stood up, we've lain down, and we've sat interminably while that tiresome old woman chanted the most unflattering verses at us, and we find ourselves still in exactly the same position as we were when we started.
Well, it's not my fault.
Be that as it may, you might at least accept defeat and think of something else.
Well, I'm just as exhausted as you are. I mean, I've had to do all the damn table tapping.
It's no use, Charles. You have to think of something else.
Well, can't you get yourself back?
How should I know?
Well, wouldn't Elvira know?
It's got new pictures. It's got to come from here, Charles. If we got the Black Douglas, Jalderitz, Merlin, and someone else all in a row, it's no good. Perhaps you don't want us to go strong enough.
I certainly do.
Then you must have a very weak will. We always suspected it.
Wake up, Madame McCarthy.
Oh no, not another seance.
Please wake up, Madame Arcati.
Shake her.
But might upset her.
I don't care if it kills her.
Wake up, Madame Arcati, please. Oh, there she is.
What time is it?
Oh, 5:10.
Ooh, what time did I go off?
Over an hour ago.
Curious, very curious. Excuse me a moment, I shall have to make a record of that in my diary. Are they still here?
Yes.
Oh, how disappointing.
Have you any suggestions?
Well, we mustn't give up hope. Chin up, never give in. That's my motto.
Schoolgirl phraseologies drive me mad.
Now then,
Now then, what?
what do you say we have another seance? And this time really put our shoulders to the wheel and make it a real rouser.
For God's sake, don't you have another seance, Charles.
If I try hard enough, I might be able to materialise a trumpet. Well, something's better than nothing, you know. I feel as fit as a fiddle after my rest.
I don't care if she materializes a whole orchestra. Don't let her have another seance.
My dear Madame Arcati, don't you think we've had enough seances? After all, they haven't achieved much.
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, you know.
No, it wasn't, but...
Well then, cheer up, away with melancholy.
Look, Madame Arcati, before you go off into any more trances, we need to discuss the situation entirely.
Good, excellent idea. And while we're doing that, I'll have another of these delicious sandwiches, and I'm as hungry as a hunter.
Would you like some more beer?
Oh, no, better not.
Oh, I'm going to have something.
Well, whatever you have, make it a double and enjoy yourself.
One day, I hope to have the opportunity of telling Madame McCarthy exactly what I think of her.
Oh, look, she's been doing her best.
Are the girls getting despondent?
Afraid they are, rather.
No. We'll win through yet. Don't be downhearted. Now then, Mr. Condamine, the discussion.
Yes.
Fire away.
Right, well, my wives and I have discussed it fully, and they're both convinced that I called them back.
Oh, very natural.
I am equally convinced that I did not.
Well, love is a strong psychic force. It can work untold miracles. A true love call can encompass the universe.
I'm sure it can, Madame Arcati, and please don't be offended in any way, but even though my feelings for both Elvira and Ruth are of the warmest, I don't feel they come under the heading you so describe.
I should think not indeed.
Well, you may not know your own strength, Mr. Condamine.
I most certainly did not call them back, and that is my final word on the matter.
Well, they could not have appeared unless someone, a psychic subject, had wished for them.
Well, it wasn't me.
Perhaps it was Dr. Bradman. I never knew he cared.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
Yep, absolutely positive.
Great Scott! I do believe I've been barking up the wrong tree.
What do you mean?
Well, the Sudbury case.
What's that?
Well, it's the case that made me famous, Mr. Condamine. It's what you would refer to in theatrical parlance as my first smash hit. I had letters from all over the world about it, especially India.
Well, what was the Sudbury case? What did you do?
Well, I dematerialised old Lady Sudbury from where she'd been firmly entrenched for 17 years.
How? Can you remember how?
Well, chance, a fluke. I happened on it by the merest coincidence.
A fluke? What was it?
Hush, wait. Now then, let me see. was in the house during our first seance?
Just Ruth, myself, the Bradmans, and you.
Yes, to be sure. But the Brandmans weren't here last night, were they?
No.
Quickly, my crystal!
Righto. Here you are.
Oh, damn the thing, it gives me the pit cloudy again. Oh, that's better. It's there again. What's there again? I'm beginning to understand.
Sure he was.
A bandage. A white bandage.
I haven't got a white
Held on to a white bandage.
I don't have a white.
She's very good, you know. She ought to be in the circus.
Be you in nook or cranny, answer me. Be you in still room or closet, answer me. Be you behind the panel, above the stairs, beneath the eaves, waking or sleeping, answer me. Well, that ought to do it, or I'm a Dutchman.
Do what?
Hush, wait.
If it's a ghost, I shall scream. I sure hope it's no one I know. It would be so embarrassing.
It's near. It's very near.
Did you ring, sir?
A white bandage! A white bandage!
No, Edith.
I swore I heard the bell or somebody calling. I was asleep. I don't rightly know which.
Come here, child.
Oh, sir?
Go on, it's all right.
Whom do you see in this room, child?
Oh, dear.
Come now.
You, madame?
Go on.
The master?
Look again.
Oh, no, madame.
Come on, child. Look again.
Elvira, hold still. I can't.
Do you see anyone else now?
Oh, no, madame.
She's lying.
Oh, madame.
Well, they always do.
They?
Where are they now?
The butterflies. Oh,
You mean she can see them? She can really see them?
Oh, not very clearly, but enough.
I don't see nobody. I want to go back to bed. I haven't done nothing wrong.
No one said you had, Edith.
Give her a sandwich.
I don't want a sandwich. I want to go back to bed.
Oh, nonsense. A big, healthy girl like you say no to a sandwich. I never heard of such a thing. Now sit down.
Oh, sir.
It's all right. Do as Madame Arcady says, Edith.
She's been the cause of all this unpleasantness. I shall give her a week's notice tomorrow.
You may not be here tomorrow.
Look at me, Edith. Cuckoo! Cuckoo!
What's wrong with her? Is she balmy?
Look at my finger, Edith. Isn't this the longest finger you've ever seen? Now it's going to the left. Now it's going to the right. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock.
Must ran up the clock.
Quiet, you'll ruin it.
So far, so good. She's away.
Oh, away.
She's a natural. Just the same as the Sudbury case. It really is the most amusing coincidence. Now then, can you ask your wives to stand close together?
Yeah, where?
Over there by you.
Oh. Elvira, Ruth, come over here, please.
I resent being ordered around like this, Charles.
I don't really see why we should.
I think peculiar.
Now, are you sorry for having been so mischievous, Edith?
Oh, yes, madame.
And you know what you have to do now, don't you, Edith?
Yes, madame.
Charles, I think it's going to work.
Tell her to stop for a minute, Charles. There's something I want to say.
Oh, I should have thought of that before it's too late now.
Oh, the mean, inconsiderate.
Wait, Charles!
Charles, I saw Captain Bracefield girl again while you were in Newcastle several times at the 400, and I can't say I do enjoy it so much.
You've behaved abominably over this whole entire affair, and I'd like to say, dear...
Splendid! We've done it! That's quite enough humming for the moment, Edith.
Shall I get the lights?
No, I will.
They've gone. They've really gone.
Yes, I think we've really done it
Oh, we
this time.
better wake her up. She might bring them back again.
Wake up, child.
Good heavens, where am I?
Oh, it's all right, Edith. I rang the bell and you came downstairs. Isn't that right, Madame Arcady?
Did I drop off again? Do you think it's my concussion?
Oh, it's all right. You can go back to bed now, Edith.
Why? It's morning.
That's all right, Edith. Go on, here you go, girl.
What in for? Oh, sir.
What did she mean by that?
right, eh? I'm ready to drop in my tracks.
Yep. Well, you're welcome to stay upstairs. There's a spare bed.
Oh, no. Each to his own nest. I'm going to pedal home. In a jiffy, it's only 7 miles.
I'm sure you make arrangements for your accounts, Madam Arcati.
Oh, good heavens. It was my pleasure. I wouldn't dream of such a thing.
But all those trances, Madam Arcati.
Well, I enjoy them thoroughly. I always have, since a child.
Right, oh. Well, maybe you'd do me the pleasure of lunching with me one day.
When you come back, I'd be delighted.
Come back?
Take my advice, Mr. Condamine, and go away immediately.
Away? Why?
Well, this must be an unhappy house for you. There must be memories both grave and gay in every corner. Also,
what?
There are more things in heaven and earth, Mr. Condamine. Just pack your traps and go.
Do you mean to say they might still be here?
Quien sabe, as the Spanish say.
Thank you, Madam Arcati.
Fascinating. From first to last, fascinating, Mr. Condamine. Now, do you mind if I take one more of those sandwiches to munch on the way home?
No, help yourself.
No, don't worry, don't bother. I'll see myself out and cheerio once more and good hunting.
Right. I wonder how we'll go and take her advice. Ruth. Elvira. Ruth! Elvira! I know you're there. I can. Oh, God! Right, well, I'm just going to take this opportunity to say I'm going away. I'm going to go a long way away. Somewhere you'll never find me. I don't care if you think you can travel overseas. There's not a chance for you. I'll go to South America. I'm sure spirits can't go there. Anyway, it's been lovely. Elvira, I realise